Now, Prue, let's talk about Woolies. Was it the power of the people, or was it that embarrassing performance on the AVC? But either way, Woolworths' $7 million man, Brad Banducci, he's announced his intention to resign as CEO. He'll be leaving the job in September. This comes after that very controversial decision to not stock Australian Day merchandise, getting involved in all sorts of divisive political debates. And last night we brought you that footage of his bizarre interview with the ABC. Prue, how do you see Brad Banducci's departure?
Well, Woolworths are trying to spin it that he was always going to resign, but clearly the man had to go because he's made a series of decisions, and I'm not talking about the commercials decisions, which in fact have been reasonably good for Woolworths, but the fact that he's adopted this touchy-feely woke approach, which has really alienated so many customers and I believe compromised the brand. You know, they try and paint themselves as we're on your side, we're the fresh food people helping Australian producers and Aussies. And sadly, you walk past a Woolworths and I always just think woke. I just continually think this brand is something I don't identify with anymore, and this is the problem for them. And you know, they can spin it all they like, and you know, it's sad that in fact someone who has done some, he saved Woolworths in a lot of ways after they had that disastrous Masters investment and other commercial issues that have cropped up. But at the end of the day, we're going to remember what he has done, which is a very bad legacy, I believe. And so he had to go sooner or later, and he's jumped ship a bit earlier. And I'd say it's just the forces of the various other things like the Four Corners interview. The board would have to not ignore that, and it's time to say, mate, see you later.
Well, I saw some Vox Pops that Sky News did earlier today, and that came up, the profits that the company is posting at a time when cost of living has gone up considerably, particularly cost of groceries. But also quite a number of people were mentioning getting involved in politics. That has definitely had cuts through. People care about Australia Day, and the fact that Woolies took a stance with the Voice referendum as well. And I think this is a message to corporates to stick to your knitting. Take care of your staff, take care of your customers. Don't lecture the nation on race relations or other contentious issues. That is not your role. Now, let's go to the US, where Republican presidential candidate Nikki Haley is refusing to drop out of the race despite former President Donald Trump's huge lead. She's in Greenville, South Carolina, and she delivered this emotional speech where she mentioned her husband, Michael.
I wish Michael was here today, and I wish our children and I could see him tonight, but we can't. He's serving on the other side of the world, where conflict is the norm, where terrorists hide among the innocent, where Iran's terrorist proxies are now attacking American troops.
Prue has been criticised and praised for that performance. What do you think? Do you think it's going to win her more support showing that emotion? And I mean, should she step down? I think the longer she holds on, the less her chances of being picked as Trump's VP.
Well, let's hope she isn't. I mean, there's so many aspects to this that are wrong. Firstly, she's wanting to become president of the United States, and she's bawling her eyes out. She's so emotional. You know, we look for strong leaders, not ones that are going to crumble. And probably she's under so much pressure because she can see the writings on the wall. As you say, she should fall on her sword now and acknowledge that she's, 30% or polling 30% less than Trump. Yeah. You know, the writing's on the wall for her. But the other thing that she's getting a lot of criticism about is that she's allegedly been playing up on her husband, this darling Michael who's putting his life on the line across the world. And, you know, God knows what she's been up to and whether she's had time to get up to anything else. But, you know, the public seem to say that she's not been a faithful wife. So suddenly she's got tears for him. Give us a break. I'm sorry. That's really that's desperation. She's pulling out, you know, a card trick that we've seen all before, and it's really sad.
I'll tell you one thing she should do immediately, sack her social media team. They posted this. Let's have a look at this tweet they posted. I'm sure it was them and not her. She wouldn't be that silly. 12 fellas down, 1 to go. I don't need to tell you how that was mocked online. It has probably become amongst the most mocked tweets of 2024. And I can't even show you the examples of the mocking because this is a family program. So, yeah. Let's move on to Prince William. He's weighed in on the war in Gaza. In a rare statement, he said the following. He said, "I remain deeply concerned about the terrible human cost of the conflict in the Middle East since the Hamas terrorist attack on October 7. Too many have been killed. I, like so many others, want to see an end to the fighting as soon as possible. There is a desperate need for increased humanitarian support to Gaza. It's critical that aid gets in and hostages are released." Prue, is it wise for Prince William, the future king, to be making any sort of comment in this area? It's such a politically charged issue. And though he seemed to cross every issue there, the humanitarian aid for Gaza, the hostages, the fact that he was calling for an end to the fighting, that could be correctly interpreted as a call for a ceasefire, and that is a political statement.
Totally. You know, it's likely to cause some sort of political rift with Israel and probably even the US, who knows. You know, this is the problem, that royalty, whether this generation of royalty wants to seek relevance, and they think by entering into the world's crises is some way of making them relevant with commentary like this. You know, we understand that this generation is very touchy-feely, they're sensitive, and he probably, look, everybody doesn't want to see the humanitarian crisis that's going on over there. The loss of life in war is shocking. I mean, during World War II, there was something like 15 million military losses and 38 million civilian losses. I mean, this is a fact of life with war. War is disgusting, and you would think by now we wouldn't do it. But sadly we do. And for this young man to step into this political arena, I think is so unwise. We all resonate with him, and maybe he's figuring that, you know, by saying this, that the younger generation is going to, you know, suddenly want to be more pro-royalty. Yeah, I don't know. But I just feel that it's so dangerous, and he hasn't been clearly listening to harder heads, I would have thought. But we knew that Charles is very sort of touchy-feely and has been bordering on commentary that he shouldn't. So maybe he's got some sort of a nod from his dad that it's okay to do so. But if they keep doing it, I believe that they're really jeopardising their future.
Well, I've always said, let's just make George king already. Let's just jump a couple of generations. Yes. We love George. That's the solution. Prue McSween, thank you for your time this evening.
Thanks, Rita.